Welcome to the latest episode of Trojans Wired, the podcast, which is an in-house production of the website Trojans Wire. We are part of the College Wire Network. Matt Zemek back at you with USC women's basketball analyst Cece Clay. Lindsey Gottlieb, Coach G, landing the very big fish. This is a trend, right? This is not an isolated thing. JuJu Watkins, Jazzy Davidson, and now the number one recruit on the board in the class of 2026, Saniyah Hall, commits to USC. It happened on Friday. CC Clay was tweeting about it a lot, and she's had some other videos and quick hits on her Twitter feed and on her at her USC women's basketball website on Saniyah Hall. So this is just like a continuation of what CC Clay was starting to do. So CC, your reaction on this very big, very splashy recruiting victory for Lindsey Gottlieb and USC?
You know, I I'm just shocked in a good way. Now I knew she was on campus yesterday. I will say I knew she was on campus before anybody else did. So I'm gonna keep that little insider information in there. But I didn't think that she was going to be like committing the very next day. You know what I mean? But obviously, um, her relationships with Coach Lindsay and I think Jazzy Davidson had a lot to do with it, and JuJu Watkins, and just the rest of the team because the rest of the team is young. So you look at that 2026, 2017, they're going to be so good that they lose London and Kara, but Saniyah comes in and fills that spot. I did have somebody ask me a question on Twitter about, did they think that was going to be too many players playing the same position? And you got to look at they're big guards. You got Jazzy Davidson, who's about 6'2", 6'3". You got Saniyah Hall, who's about 6'2", Juju 6'2", and Kennedy 6'1". All of them can play multiple positions, 1 through 4, if need be. And I'm sure we're going to bring in a Big O is on our sites right now, and one of our top recruits. But what I see them spacing the floor and having multiple ways that they can go. I mean, Saniyah Hall, she's a 40% three-point shooter. I mean, she's a big guard. I mean, she's not just like tall and thin. She's a big guard. She's strong. So I'm just look, let me just stop for a minute and congratulate Lindsey Gottlieb on the job that she's doing at USC. She's been there 5 years. 3 out of the last 4 years, she's gotten the number one recruit or prospect in the nation to sign with USC. Not and two of them are not from California. One of them, Saniyah Hall, is from Lorain, Ohio, and Jazzy's from Oregon, right? And so I want to make a point, and I tweeted this out. No other coach, not Gino, not Don Staley, none of the top coaches, they've had top 10 classes in multiple years, but no other coach in history has been able to land multiple number ones in 3 out of 4 years. That's just an incredible job. And it's a testament to Lindsey Gottlieb and the work that she puts in. She works her ass off in building relationships with the kids that she wants. She understands that that's one of the most important pieces of getting players to come and buy into the program. It's relationship driven. It just like me, I'm in sales, right? Sales and marketing. It's relationship driven. So the better you can build relationship with folks, the better you have an opportunity to form a partnership. And that's what Lindsay's doing. She's forming legitimate partnerships with these kids and their families. And then you have the players too that are doing what they're doing. Jazzy and Saniyah played at USA under 19, so I'm sure that they formed a bond. And who doesn't want to come play with Juju and Kennedy, right? And don't forget, Malia Samuels is going to be there too. The team in 2026, 27 is going to be a team to remember. Watch.
I think that really is the big story is that 2026, 2027, it is all lining up to be an absolutely loaded team. That's for sure. With all the players that are going to be coming back, and then you add in Saniyah Hall and the new additions, and this doesn't even account for the portal pieces that Lindsey Gottlieb will be able to land, and she's
Yeah.
sure going to have a great chance to make a sales pitch. These are the players you're going to be able to
Yeah,
play with. Obviously, that sales pitch is probably going to be for a front court star
yeah,
uh, for that roster. Like, but it's going to be the top backcourt in the country, at least on paper.
yeah.
So certainly a
And
big
yeah,
thing. And
you have to remember one other thing too. Nikki Blue, the new assistant coach that Lindsay hired, you got to remember she was in the W for a while. She was the interim head coach for the Phoenix Mercury, and many believe that she should have got that position, when they made the change of bringing in a new head coach. Nikki Blue is talented. She don't trip off, don't think that she doesn't know what she's doing too. I mean, Lindsay, just all the way around, her team, the way she thinks, her basketball IQ, her vision for long-term success. Bringing in Nikki Blue was probably one of the best hires that Lindsay could have brought in, right? You guys, because nobody saw that coming either. So
yeah,
you got Nikki Blue, you got Beth Burns, you got Courtney Jaco, who's an up and coming assistant. You just got some good coaches, surrounding Lindsay. Beth Burns,
and that is such an important point to make. We see this throughout college sports, football and, big time basketball. The head coach loses that trusted key assistant, that big recruiter, and then the recruiting falls off and the program doesn't recover. You can dozens of examples you could come up with. You lose that one key recruiter who then, who gets his or her own head coaching job, and then the recruiting falls off and it's never quite the same. Lindsay Gottlieb loses one of her key assistants, and she's just able to keep going at the same elite standard. See, not every coach does that. Lindsay Gottlieb really is in a league of her own in terms of being able to overcome, the loss of, a trusted assistant, a major assistant, and the machine keeps on rolling. That not everyone does this. Like, this is part of
yeah,
appreciating Lindsay Gottlieb as a coach. I mean, like, and before the Saniyah Hall news hit, and of course, this is not for next season, she's for 2026, 2027, but you mentioned USC not in the top 25 of
yeah,
ESPN's preseason rankings. Like, forget about the USC fan base. We're not talking about USC fans. What are national analysts not getting about Lindsay Gottlieb? Like, what has to convince national analysts that Lindsay Gottlieb is just going to keep USC in the top tier? Where's that doubt coming from? I don't get it. Like, beating Kansas State in the Sweet 16 without JuJu, okay, they didn't make the Final Four, but we all saw just how good this team was without JuJu. We saw how well it played UConn without JuJu. How are national analysts still sleeping on Lindsay Gottlieb? I don't understand it. Like, it does
yeah.
not make logical sense, CC Clay.
No, and what's interesting about that is when they played against UConn, Kiki Ariafen was really upset because she didn't play her best game that game against UConn. So you can make a statement. Well, or people are making a statement. Well, they didn't just lose Juju; they lost Kiki Ariafen. She left. She went to the pros. But Kiki didn't play that well against UConn, right? And USC was still in that game closer than anybody else played against UConn. You know what I mean? So I don't get the disrespect. Not so much the way they're analyzing the game. I just don't get the disrespect because you finish in the top 8 and you're telling me that you're not going to put them in the top 25 because they don't have Juju or Kiki, but yet they got Jazzy, Kennedy, they got Kara Dunn, they got London Jones, they got Mendez, they got a legitimate top 25 team. And you saying that Minnesota is better? I just don't. I mean, it blows my mind. That's why I said, it's all about the money game, right? ESPN, they're tied to SEC and ACC. They can't they can't blow up SC. They can't, show Lindsay Gottlieb the respect that she deserves. It's in their DNA. But even Talia Goodman doesn't even have, and Talia Goodman is a good analyst. She works for On3 Sports. She doesn't even have USC in the top 25. So that's okay. We'll take it.
Yeah,
We'll take it. There's
that's the transition.
no
This
pressure
team's
on
going to
us.
feed off the disrespect, play it with a chip on its
Yeah,
shoulder, which really, like, this is appropriate, right? no one believes in us. No one thinks we can do it without JuJu. Go get them. Like that is a great mindset for this team to have.
Just like the year that the Ivies came and it was JuJu, and the video they made at the end, who would have thought us or something like that, that nobody believed in SC that year either, so that's okay. We'll take that. We'll take it, you know. It's just funny to me, they think that, no disrespect to JuJu because I love JuJu and JuJu has done a lot for this program, but the team still needs to be coached. And the team was successful Lindsey Gottlieb's second year here without JuJu. They made it, from nothing to the first round of the NCAA with a nobody team. I, I'm not being disrespectful. I'm just saying no superstars on that team. They had
Yeah.
Destiny
No
Littleton,
superstars,
yeah,
no
Katie
aircraft
Sissoko.
carriers. Yeah.
Katie Sissoko was a transfer
That's
from
just the
Minnesota.
reality.
She was a transfer from Minnesota. She wasn't in the top 10 rankings of the portal. Destiny Littleton wasn't even in the top 10 rankings of the portal transfer when she came over. And Lindsey Gottlieb got them back to the first round of the NCAA. They should have won that first round game against South Dakota State, but so I don't get it. I don't get it.
I
For
don't either.
Lindsey
That
coming
makes
up there
two of
this and
us.
that, Lindsey doesn't, I'll tell you right now, Lindsey doesn't give a shit, you know? She's like, they're going to think what they're going to think, whatever. I'm just going to sit back and do my job, what I was hired to do. Because you never see her commenting on shit. That's the one thing I like about Lindsey is she's not that flashy coach. Like there are some flashy coaches out there. Yolette McEwen, no disrespect, Don Staley,
Yeah.
even Gino, that want that interaction with Twitter, you know, want that space. Lindsey doesn't need that shit. She just sits in the background and just does her job. You know, that's what I love about her. Everything else is first. Building this team is first.
Yeah. And, I mean, this is becoming a Lindsey Gottlieb appreciation show. I mean, when you land
Oh
Saniyah
yeah.
Hall, it
All right.
should be. No,
Uh,
no, no, this is good. And we just need to remind people that beyond the actual results on the court at USC, it's always worth reminding people that Lindsey Gottlieb is not just winning games consistently, winning championships. USC won the Big Ten last season, so it was a championship season for USC. Won the Pac-12 tournament championship the year before. Like
yep.
she's bringing home trophies, not the ultimate one, but she is bringing home trophies each season. But beyond that, she is really taking care of these athletes. And I think it's a big reason why Saniyah Hall didn't just choose USC, but as you accurately noted, chose USC right away. Like she makes the visit, boom, not many hours later, she commits. Like she's sold. And why wouldn't you be sold on Lindsey Gottlieb when, this is one of the things that I really will always remember from this past season, 2024, 2025, is that, she could have run JuJu Watkins into the ground, but she didn't. Like she pulled up on the reins and wanted to make sure JuJu was as fresh as possible for the full season, which adds to the irony and the cruelty of the injury in March. It wasn't that she was overextended; it was that it happened in spite of Lindsey Gottlieb, limiting her to 26 minutes against Wisconsin and limiting her minutes in a few other games when other coaches would have just tried to squeeze every last minute out of her. Lindsey Gottlieb was thinking about JuJu Watkins' long-term health and wellness, the whole season. And then with Kiki Iriafen, there were struggles in terms of Kiki's adjustment from Tara Vanderveer's very structured system at Stanford. USC has a very different paradigm, but we're seeing this fruit, right? With Kiki's wonderful rookie season in the WNBA. Lindsey Gottlieb, you can really see it. Like it's not vague, it's not ambiguous. She really cares about her players. She was thinking long term with JuJu all of last season, and she was thinking about, what, I might have some bumpy patches with Kiki, but I'm preparing her for the W. I'm preparing her for the pros, giving her a complete foundation. So why wouldn't you want to play for a coach who has your long-term best interests in mind? Lindsey Gottlieb is not trying to just make that quick buck or squeeze that short-term benefit. You can just clearly see she's thinking about the whole career and the whole life of her players. This is part of why surely Saniyah Hall committed to USC.
Yeah, I'm excited, man. I'm really excited. I'm really happy. I'm excited for USC, but I'm really, really happy for Lindsey Gottlieb. Because she just, like I said, she just does her work in the dark. She does her work in the dark.
In LA,
And
kind of
in
hard.
LA, yeah, in the city of lights. And the funny thing about it is when Saniyah committed, Lindsay just came on and get the fight on sign. Nothing else. I mean, that's what she does, but it's like nothing else. Now she's back at work doing whatever she needs to do to get the next person here. You know what I mean? So
And let the player have the platform and the
yeah,
spotlight. It's not about me. I'm not
yeah,
selling myself. I'm selling USC and my vision and these athletes. That's like the athletes are the product. Yeah. I I mean, you and I, we can't say enough good things about Coach G, the way she goes
yeah,
about her business, in
yeah,
addition to, of course, the results.
yeah. That's why they call her Big Lens, not the little one.
Absolutely. Anything else on Saniyah Hall before we tackle the other topic we wanted to hit on in this podcast?
No, we got about 10 minutes, so let's do it.
Okay. So the Elijah Arenas injury, obviously that's men's basketball, but it just brings up the point. USC men's basketball, Elijah Arenas, USC women's basketball, JuJu Watkins both get with serious injuries in the same year. Like, is there some Aztec burial ground in Los Angeles that we don't know about? I mean, this basketball program just, so much good stuff, and yet these gut punch injuries that just hit you square in the stomach, it's just really hard to believe.
Yeah, the good thing about his injury, it's not an ACL tear. So, I mean, he could be back in 6 months. They're saying they don't
Yeah,
know. It's a
yeah.
meniscus tear, and that's what happened. I actually dislocated my kneecap and had a meniscus tear. The difference with me was I thought I was going to be back, and when I woke up out of surgery, I had a cast on from the top of my thigh to down to my ankle because of the dislocation of my kneecap. So they didn't mention any of that. They just said he had a torn meniscus. So it's going to be interesting to see if he's able to come out of that meniscus surgery, with minor surgery, if they're going to have to do a scope, because sometimes with the meniscus surgery, all you have to do is a scope, or you can let it heal on its own, um, and see what his best options are. But yeah, it's just like, man, when I saw that, I was like, wow, that's tough. Him and Juju in the same year. Um, and we don't know if he was going to come out, and because they did a good job in the portal, the boys did, of bringing in some key players. So we don't know if Arenas was going to come out and start, or what his status was on the team anyway. I don't know what the expectation was. So that's never really been talked about. They were just happy to get him back on the court from his car accident, but he has had a string of bad luck, right? The car accident and now his meniscus tear. So I feel for him, and I'm just hoping that it's not the latter, that he's out the whole season. That it's if it's a minor meniscus tear, he can get that healed up pretty quickly.
So is there any kind of sports science lesson or insight that you have on any of this aside from just, USC's ridiculously awful luck? I mean, is there any other kind of big picture takeaway that you have perhaps
It's different
from any
for
of
men
this?
and women. Well, women, I'm still wondering, as I had that podcast with Kelly Dormandy, and I asked her the question, is it linked to hormones, with women more so than it is to men? There's no clear-cut answer. With Arenas, I don't know if he was just maybe weak in those joints, you know what I mean? And then coming off that accident, he had been in the bed, he hadn't been able to really work out. So it could be that his muscles atrophied a little bit, and getting him, even though the doctors cleared him for full practice, maybe coming from high school to college basketball, and then your muscles not as strong as they normally would have been had he not gotten to that accident or surrounding the knee. Maybe that has something to do with it. So who knows? But he'll come back better than ever.
It does bring up the point that in lots of professional sports, surely, the professional sports teams, certain teams do have strings of injuries, and teams will then clear out their sports science or fitness training, strength training departments, and it could just be coincidence. It could just be just incredibly bad luck. But it seems as though there are certain strength and conditioning coaches and programs that manage to do certain specific kinds of exercises, drills, whatever, and they seem to manage or limit injuries to more than other teams do. Like in terms of just your exposure to the industry, to the business of sports science, like have you picked up any lessons like with Kelly Dormandy or with
Yeah.
others that who talk about this kind of stuff regularly? What insights have you gleaned on these
Uh,
matters?
the only thing I know with Kelly is Kelly is she does do specific exercise to strengthen the muscles around the knee and certain movements because in basketball it's usually stop and go or side to side. So
Yeah.
you have to have lateral training when you're strengthening your legs and your quads and the muscles around your knee. I think it's just coincidence because I honestly just believe that because of his accident, he wasn't able to work out. And I just think that his muscles weren't as strong as they normally would have been. And he had some atrophy there. And it was just bad luck, you know?
Yeah, I think the
That's what I
recovery
think.
from the accident is certainly in the background. It's hard to ignore, just the stagnation, forced. Like this wasn't chosen, this was forced. He
Yeah.
had to rest up while he was hospitalized. It's hard to ignore the presence of that in this larger timetable. All right, so any other final notes on that as we wind down our show?
I still would like to know the timeline with Juju, but like I said, I don't think that I think she's gonna be sitting out this year, and then she's gonna wait to come back and play with Saniyah and Jazzy and Kennedy and whoever else they get on this team and they're gonna win a national championship. That's what I think.
Yeah, it
You
is
gotta
an
think, you
it's
gotta think after this year, UConn and South Carolina, they're losing a lot of players, so they're gonna be in rebuild mode. I mean, UConn's gonna have Sarah Strong and some freshmen that they're getting in and Kaylee, but they're not going to have that shooter in AZ, so and they're not going they're who you know what I mean? So it's going to be pretty interesting. I think 2026-27 is going to be a great year for women's basketball. Ashton Watkins just announced for South Carolina that she's sitting out this year. So that's a big hurt for South Carolina. Um, she was expected to come back and she just announced that she's going to sit out a year. So it's going to be interesting to see if Ashton Watkins decides to jump in the portal and make a move to LSU or Tennessee like Wally did, or if she's going to stay at South Carolina. My gut feeling is that she's gone. She's going to leave South Carolina. So
uh right now, I mean, we're so far away from next season. We're trying to worry about this season, but like so a year and a half from the 2027 NCAA tournament, if you were just to say right now who's the favorite, USC, probably not a bad pick to make.
for 2026-27, yeah, this season it's definitely UConn.
Yeah.
I see UConn winning it all this year.
Mhm.
Um, so that's going to be interesting. You know.
It sure will be. All right, CC. So you have a brand new website, and I can't just say it enough. First, congratulations on this website. But secondly, if you're a fan, if you're a journalist, if you're an outsider, it doesn't matter. You'll want to just use CC's new USC women's basketball website as your one-stop resource for complete USC women's basketball coverage and analysis. Tell us what you have going on there.
It'll be linked down below in the description. So you guys go ahead and click on that link. But it is USCWBBmedialab.com. Please sign up. On the homepage, you can sign right up for the mailing list because with that, you'll be able to see exclusive stuff that I put up, and you might even be able to see exclusive pictures, that nobody else has been able to see. So I'll leave it at that.
Yeah,
I
so
don't
you go
know.
to
I'm just saying.
So you go to the homepage, as I've done. There's a link for Film Room. There's a link for Hoop Thoughts. CC's writings. There's our podcasts. On and on and on down the line. So many different kinds of content. So there's a ton of content, but it's chopped up into the different forms of content. So a little bit of something for everyone. You like written content, you like video content, you like film study. There's a little bit of something for everyone. Stats, information, you name it, CC Clay has it. CC, congratulations on your website.
Thank you. It is a one-stop shop. If anybody is analytical or statistic, has a stats mind, um, it is built for that, but it's also built for the community, as in my blog page where it allows you to comment, leave your thoughts on stuff that I write. I leave a question after everything that I write for you guys to chime in. So participate. Let's build this community. If you sign up for the mailing list, I promise you, you won't get spammed. It's just you will get an email when I have an update of news, or if I put some new pictures on the website that nobody else has gotten, or who knows what I'll put on there. But I'm just saying it's really important for you guys to sign up for that mailing list so you're in the know, especially when season comes around.
Absolutely. When the season starts, man, you just need to make that a daily stop. And again, your one-stop shop for everything USC women's basketball. All right, CC, any final thoughts?
Nope. Check out my YouTube channel. I do have a video up there about Saniyah Hall, so you can get to know her a little bit. And then Rhea Marshall's uh, film breakdown is on there as well. How I just tore up Connecticut, and the way they play is crazy to me. So go check that out. And I should have some stuff coming out on Substack soon, but now I'm kind of focused on my blog writing for my website. So we'll see.
As you should be. All right, so plenty to talk about, but Lindsay Gottlieb lands another really big fish for USC women's
Congrats.
basketball. Coach G, the rock star, delivering the
Big
goods
lens.
again.
Big lens, not the little one. Show her some respect. All you analysts out there, show her some respect. That's all good. That's good. I hope they rank us number 50, like they did the first year, the second year Lindsay took the team back to the NCAA tournament, or even the third year when we made to the final eight. Nobody respected that team. So it's all good. Keep disrespecting us. I love it.
And on that note, for CC Clay, this is Matt Zemek. Thanks for watching and listening to another edition of the Trojans Wired podcast. We'll see you next time.
Right on.